The research station's alarms blared as Dr. Raina Patel sprinted down the corridor, her heart pounding against her ribs. Behind her, the emergency containment protocols activated with pneumatic hisses, but she knew they wouldn't hold. Nothing had successfully contained a void stalker before. "Dr. Patel, please confirm your status," the station's AI requested, its tone artificially calm. Still breathing, she managed between gasps. "Subject 7 has breached primary containment. Where's the rest of the team? All personnel successfully evacuated to safe zones. You are the only one remaining in Section C." Of course she was. The rest of the team had followed proper protocols while she'd stayed behind, transfixed by what she'd witnessed in Subject 7's holding chamber. The Void Stalker, a creature made of living darkness that had terrorized 3 solar systems, had displayed unprecedented behavior. Right before the containment breach, it had mimicked her movements, almost like. A crash echoed through the corridor behind her, followed by the sound of molecular bonds being severed at a quantum level. The Void Stalker's signature method of consuming matter. They didn't just eat their prey, they unraveled it from existence. "Dr. Patel, you have 14 seconds to reach the emergency shelter before Subject 7 breaches the final barrier." Raina rounded the corner, her modified tablet clutched tight against her chest. The device contained her observations from the past 3 weeks, observations that would be dismissed as impossible by every xenobiologist in the galaxy. The Void Stalkers weren't just mindless predators. They were intelligent, social, and most incredibly, capable of empathy. The shelter's reinforced door came into view, its emergency lights pulsing in an urgent rhythm. 10 seconds. 9. 8. A shadow darker than the absence of light itself slithered under the final barrier behind her. 7. 6. Raina's fingers flew across the shelter's access panel. 5. 4. The door began to slide open with agonizing slowness. 3. She dove through the narrow opening. 2. "Close it. Close it now," she screamed. 1. The shelter door slammed shut with a decisive thud, and Raina collapsed against the far wall, gulping air into her burning lungs. Through the shelter's observation window, she could see Subject 7's form coalescing in the corridor, a writhing mass of darkness that seemed to absorb even the emergency lights around it. But instead of attacking the shelter's defenses, as all previous research suggested it would, Subject 7 did something unprecedented. It sat. The creature of living darkness, capable of reducing entire space stations to their component atoms, settled onto its haunches like an obedient pet and tilted what passed for its head at her. The gesture was so familiar, so eerily reminiscent of her childhood dog that Raina felt her scientific worldview tilt on its axis. "That's impossible," she whispered, pressing her hand against the observation window. "They're supposed to be mindless predators." Subject 7 moved closer to the window, its form rippling with patterns that her research had previously classified as aggressive. But now, watching it mirror her posture, she realized with stunning clarity that she'd been reading the signs all wrong. Those weren't threat displays, they were attempts at communication. The Void Stalker pressed what might have been a tendril against the other side of the window, creating a dark mirror to her own hand. In that moment, Dr. Raina Patel understood that she wasn't looking at a simple predator. She was witnessing the first attempt at cross-species communication from one of the most feared entities in known space. She pulled out her tablet with trembling fingers and began to record. Research log, Dr. Raina Patel, emergency addendum, everything we know about Void Stalkers is wrong. They're not just hunting us. They're trying to understand us. And I think they want us to understand them too. Beyond the window, Subject 7 began to emit patterns of darkness that pulsed in perfect rhythm with her words. The Galactic Science Council's emergency session erupted into chaos when Dr. Raina Patel played her research recordings. On the main display, Subject 7, now nicknamed Echo, performed a series of complex movements in perfect synchronization with a musical sequence. "This is unprecedented," Dr. Patel explained, her voice steady despite the uproar. "The Void Stalkers don't just respond to sound, they create it. What we previously interpreted as attack patterns are actually attempts at harmonic communication." First speaker Jorix, their crystalline form vibrating with distress, raised all four appendages. "Dr. Patel, you expect us to believe that the species responsible for the destruction of the Centauri colonies is attempting to sing?" Reyna activated another recording. The chamber fell silent as Echo's form rippled with waves of darkness that produced haunting, ethereal tones. The pattern matched perfectly with an ancient earth whale song she had played during one of their sessions. "They're not just mindless destroyers," Reyna continued, bringing up her data streams. "They're sophisticated beings capable of learning, adaptation, and most importantly, emotional bonds. Echo didn't break containment to attack, it broke containment to protect me from what it perceived as isolation." The council chamber erupted again, but Reyna pressed on. She'd spent 3 months documenting every interaction, every breakthrough. The Void Stalkers' consumption of matter wasn't purely predatory, it was their primary way of understanding the universe around them. By breaking things down to their quantum components, they learned about them. "Watch this," she said, starting a new recording. Echo's dark form flowed through a series of movements while a classical piano piece played in the background. The creature's particles aligned with each note, creating visual harmonies that defied conventional physics. "They experience the universe through resonance," Reyna explained. "What we saw as attacks were actually attempts to harmonize with us. The destruction they caused wasn't malicious, it was accidental, like a child learning to control their strength." "And how do you explain the Proxima incident?" Second speaker Valera demanded. 3 colonies, Doctor. 3 colonies reduced to their atomic components." Reyna took a deep breath. "Echo showed me. Through our harmonic sessions, it shared memories." She activated her final recording. The chamber watched as Echo recreated the Proxima incident through patterns of light and shadow. The Void Stalkers hadn't attacked the colonies, they had been trying to respond to the colony's power signatures, attempting to harmonize with what they perceived as a form of communication. "They're lonely," Reyna said softly. "They've been trying to connect with other sentient species for millennia, but their attempts at communication have been met with fear and violence. Through music, through rhythm and resonance, we can bridge that gap." The chamber was silent as she played the final recording. Echo, along with 2 other Void Stalkers who had been drawn to their sessions, moving in perfect harmony with a complex symphony. Their quantum patterns created visual music that defied description, a dance of darkness and light that spoke of intelligence, emotion, and an overwhelming desire to connect. "I'm not asking you to forget the past," Reyna concluded. "I'm asking you to consider the future. Humanity has always had a unique ability to forge connections with species others considered dangerous or impossible to understand. The Void Stalkers aren't our enemies, they're our newest opportunity to expand our understanding of life itself." First speaker Jorix's crystalline form had stopped vibrating, now reflecting the patterns of Echo's movements in the recording. "And you believe you can train them?" Reyna smiled. "No, speaker. I believe we can learn from each other. They've already taught me more about quantum harmonics than we've learned in a century of study. Imagine what we could accomplish together." As if to emphasize her point, a shadow darker than dark slipped under the chamber door. The council members froze as Echo materialized beside Reyna, its form rippling with patterns that the chamber's acoustics translated into a perfect harmonic chord. "Trust goes both ways," Reyna said quietly, placing her hand against Echo's surface. The Void Stalker's particles aligned with her biorhythms, creating a visible demonstration of the bond she described. "They're ready to trust us. The question is, are we ready to trust them?" 6 months after Dr. Patel's presentation to the council, Research Station Harmonia had become something unprecedented in galactic history, the first cooperative research center between humans and void stalkers. The station's corridors pulsed with symphonic frequencies as Dr. Patel led a delegation through what had once been standard containment cells, now transformed into acoustic chambers. The breakthrough came when we stopped trying to contain them and started trying to collaborate with them, Reyna explained to Admiral Then, whose insectoid features remained carefully neutral. In one chamber, a void stalker named Tempo was working with quantum physicists, its particles aligning with subatomic frequencies to stabilize an experimental reactor core. They experience reality as a cosmic symphony, Reyna continued. What we initially interpreted as destruction was actually their way of joining the song. Watch this. She gestured to Dr. Marcus Wong, the station's quantum harmonics expert, who activated a sequence on his modified synthesizer. The void stalker in the chamber immediately shifted its form, creating a perfect quantum resonance that amplified the reactor's efficiency by 300%. Remarkable, Admiral Then clicked. But how do you prevent accidents? Reyna smiled. The same way you teach anyone to control their strength, through practice and positive reinforcement. Echo, demonstration please. The original void stalker emerged from its preferred shadow state, coalescing into a form that towered over the delegation. Several security officers reached for weapons that weren't there. The station had a strict no-weapons policy now. Echo moved with deliberate grace, extending a tendril of pure darkness toward a floating maintenance drone. Instead of disassembling it at the quantum level, the void stalker gently adjusted its gravitational stabilizers, correcting a minor misalignment. They're natural engineers, Reyna explained. Their ability to manipulate matter at the quantum level isn't just for feeding, it's a tool, like our hands. They've learned to control it with incredible precision. The delegation watched as Echo moved through the station, helping calibrate equipment and optimizing systems that human technology struggled to maintain. Other void stalkers worked alongside human scientists, their quantum manipulations allowing unprecedented insights into the fabric of spacetime itself. But the most extraordinary development, Reyna said, leading them to the station's observatory, is their role as guardians. The massive viewport showed a scene that would have been impossible just months ago. A void stalker designated Nova was escorting a civilian transport through a dangerous section of space, its massive form absorbing harmful radiation that would have damaged the ship's hull. They've chosen to protect us, Reyna said softly. Once they understood that their attempts at communication were causing harm, they were devastated. Now they use their abilities to shield our ships, stabilize dangerous phenomena, and even help us navigate spaces we couldn't survive in alone. Admiral Then's antennae twitched. And you trust them with such responsibilities? Trust is earned, Reyna replied. And they earn it every day. Echo, would you like to show them the nursery? The void stalker's form rippled with what Reyna had learned to recognize as excitement. The delegation followed as Echo led them to a specialized chamber where several smaller void stalkers, recently discovered offspring, were learning to manipulate quantum frequencies under the guidance of both human teachers and adult void stalkers. They're teaching their young to harmonize with us from the beginning, Reyna explained. And we're learning just as much from them. Their understanding of quantum mechanics is revolutionizing our technology, their ability to navigate dark space is opening up new exploration possibilities, and their capacity for cooperation is challenging everything we thought we knew about predator species. One of the void stalker young approached the delegation, its form rippling with musical patterns that the station's acoustics translated into a greeting in 3 different languages. This, Reyna said, watching Admiral Then's expression shift from suspicion to wonder, is just the beginning. We're not just taming them, we're discovering what we can become together. The Galactic Assembly had never been so quiet. Representatives from 1,000 worlds watched as a void stalker named Harmony conducted an orchestra of quantum frequencies, transforming a deadly radiation storm into a spectacular aurora of controlled energy. Dr. Reyna Patel stood beside first speaker Jorix, documenting the historic moment. 1 year ago, we called them the greatest threat to galactic civilization, Jorix observed. Now they're performing maintenance on our solar shields. The demonstration continued as more Void Stalkers joined Harmony, their synchronized movements creating a protective barrier around an entire star system. What had once inspired terror now drew gasps of wonder. The Arcturus Mining Coalition reports a 300% increase in deep space extraction efficiency, reported Trade Minister Ven. The Void Stalker's ability to stabilize quantum fluctuations has made previously impossible operations routine. Reyna advanced her presentation to show the latest data from Research Station Harmonia. The symbiosis extends beyond industrial applications. Their understanding of dark matter has revolutionized our transportation networks. What once took months now takes days. The assembly stirred as Echo materialized beside her, its form displaying complex patterns that the chamber's quantum translators rendered into multiple languages simultaneously. The Void Stalker had become an unofficial ambassador, its natural ability to communicate through quantum harmonics bridging gaps between species that traditional diplomacy had never managed. They're not just helping us, Reyna continued. They're teaching us. The young ones at Harmonia are growing up alongside human children, learning to manipulate quantum fields through play. We're seeing the emergence of a truly hybrid culture. The display shifted to show footage from the station's education center. Human children and young Void Stalkers engaged in what looked like a dance, their movements creating complex mathematical equations in the space between them. The Void Stalker's natural understanding of quantum mechanics complemented human creativity and intuition in ways that were transforming scientific understanding. But perhaps most significantly, Reyna said, they've given us a new perspective on what we consider predatory behavior. The very traits that made them feared, their ability to break down matter, their sensitivity to quantum frequencies, their collective consciousness, have proven to be sophisticated tools for exploration and creation. Echo demonstrated by consuming a small amount of dark matter, breaking it down not for sustenance but to reveal its underlying structure. The assembly watched as the Void Stalker reconstructed the matter into a perfect model of galactic space lanes, showing previously unknown safe passages through dangerous regions. They're not changing who they are, Reyna emphasized. They're showing us who they've always been. We just needed to learn their language, the language of quantum harmony. The presentation concluded with a real-time feed from the edges of known space, where Void Stalkers and human explorers worked together to map uncharted territories. Their combined abilities had pushed the boundaries of exploration further in 1 year than the previous century of solo human efforts. The question before this assembly, Reyna concluded, is no longer whether to trust them, but how to move forward together. They've offered to share their knowledge of quantum harmonics with all species willing to learn. They want to teach us their songs. Echo's form rippled with patterns that created a haunting melody in the chamber, a song of possibility and partnership that transcended traditional notions of predator and prey. The assembly sat in stunned silence, witnessing the moment when the galaxy's most feared predators became its most valuable teachers. The warnings came too late. A quantum anomaly, vast beyond measurement, threatened to tear apart the fabric of spacetime itself. Research Station Harmonia sensors detected it just hours before it would reach populated space. Dr. Reyna Patel stood at the command center, surrounded by holographic projections of the approaching catastrophe. Traditional evacuation protocols won't work, she announced to the Emergency Council. There isn't enough time. Echo's form swirled beside her, its patterns displaying complex calculations faster than the station's computers could process them. The Void Stalker had already called others of its kind, dozens materializing from shadow space to join the defense effort. They have a plan, Reyna translated, watching Echo's quantum signatures. But it's never been attempted at this scale. The Void Stalkers propose to create a quantum harmonic barrier, a synchronized network of their combined abilities to redirect the anomaly's devastating energy. But success would require perfect coordination between human technology and Void Stalker abilities. The risk is enormous, Admiral then warned through a quantum comm link. If the harmonics falter for even a moment, the feedback could destroy everything in a 10-light-year radius. Reyna watched as Echo demonstrated the proposed solution, its particles aligning with the station's power grid. We don't have a choice. This is what we've been preparing for, whether we knew it or not. The next hours were a blur of activity. Void Stalkers positioned themselves in a vast geometric pattern around the endangered sector, their forms linked by streams of quantum energy. Human engineers worked frantically to modify power stations into harmonic amplifiers, guided by the Void Stalkers' innate understanding of quantum frequencies. As the anomaly approached, Reyna took her position at the central control hub. Echo and the other Void Stalkers had taught her to feel the quantum harmonics, to understand the music of reality itself. Now, she would help conduct the most important symphony in history. Beginning harmonic sequence, she announced. The Void Stalkers moved as one, their combined consciousness creating patterns of dark energy that bent space itself. Human technology pulsed in perfect rhythm, amplifying and stabilizing the quantum barrier. The anomaly struck with unimaginable force. Reyna felt the harmonic strain as Void Stalkers and humans fought to contain the destructive energy. Echo's form stretched to its limit, particles scattering and reforming as it struggled to maintain the barrier. Then something extraordinary happened. The humans working the power stations began to sing, an old Earth song that they'd shared with the Void Stalkers during cultural exchange sessions. The Void Stalkers recognized the melody, incorporating it into their quantum harmonics. The barrier strengthened, resonating with the combined power of both species' understanding of harmony. The anomaly's energy, instead of tearing through space-time, was caught in the quantum web. The Void Stalkers didn't just contain it, they transformed it, their natural ability to break down and reconstruct matter working on a scale never before imagined. When it was over, where the anomaly had been, there now pulsed a new star. The Void Stalkers had transmuted pure destructive force into creation itself. This, Reyna said softly, as celebrations erupted across human and alien channels alike, is who we are together. Echo's form rippled with patterns that the station translated as both exhaustion and joy. The Void Stalker extended a tendril toward the newborn star, its quantum signature harmonizing with the stellar frequencies in a way that made Reyna's instruments dance. The galaxy's deadliest predators had become its greatest protectors, not through force or domestication, but through humanity's unique gift for turning the impossible into family. As Reyna watched humans and Void Stalkers working together to stabilize the new star, she understood that this wasn't just an alliance, it was evolution, a symphony of species writing the next movement in the cosmic song.